So, the next book in the series is The Order of the Phoenix. If you haven't seen these videos before, I will tell you how I'm going to review it just now. So we're going to start off with a general overview of the whole book. Then we're going to take 5 chapters, talking about them, what's good, what's bad, and kind of look over the novel as a whole. And then we're going to do a final kind of conclusion analysis kind of thing, and then I'll give a score out of 100. I used to use a out of 5-star review, but I feel that didn't really give enough for me to be able to compare the, well, especially this series, because I'd say all the Harry Potter books are around a 4-star. So it wouldn't be very fun if all the ratings were the same. Okay, so Order of the Phoenix. This one is a great continuation of the series and definitely managed to reach those darker tones that were kind of set up in the previous novel. I originally, when I read this, I thought it was very long, and which it is, and I kind of had an issue with the pacing. But now, as a more grown-up person, and I've now read it again, I realise the pacing is actually pretty fast, especially in scenes like, if you take like the final like third of the book, it's very quick in terms of what happens, and there's not a lot. I feel, if anything, some segments in here should be taken out, and those key ones should be a bit more in depth rather than being like happening as quickly as they are. But it's very interesting to read about, and I do like it. But like I do say, it's a bit long for me in terms of like the rest of the books, and I feel there are some things in here that could have been trimmed, but it's very nice anyway. Issues I do have with it is that the final scenes, like the first scenes you have in the Ministry are like weirdly over comedic, which we'll talk about later. But other than that, it's a great book. So if we look at 5 chapters of this, we're going to talk about the first one, which is the Hogwarts High Inquisitor. And this obviously isn't the introduction of Dolores Umbridge, but I feel this is one of the main ones that kind of makes her the kind of hateable character that she is. She's very well written, because you cannot ask, you ask anyone who read these books, and they will tell you that Dolores is one of those characters everybody loves to hate, and it's done through, especially in this chapter, her kind of criticism of the other teachers. For example, originally it's Trelawney, which you're not too fussed about because Trelawney is seen as a bit of a crackpot kind of fraud. But then when she starts interrogating the people of Hagrid's class, obviously Hagrid isn't there yet, but she's like talking to all the Slytherins, trying to find out the kind of the bad things that have happened in his class. So she speaks to Malfoy about what happened in his 3rd year with the Hippogriff, and she kind of tries to discredit him before he's even had a chance to teach. And it kind of adds that kind of thing where the reader wants to hate it because of their connection with Hagrid. I also like her interactions with McGonagall, because especially when she's in her class, she's sat at the back and she's trying to interrupt him, and McGonagall isn't having none of it, and it's very good. If we switch to The Lion and the Serpent, this is the Quidditch match, and this is one of those things where it's weird, because originally when I read the books, I completely forgot that Harry plays Quidditch in the 6th book. I thought that she banned him for Quidditch for life, and that was it in the series. I don't know why I had that idea. So when I read this, I realised that actually he played it in the 6th year. But this chapter, like, just shows how unfair she has been, and especially taking away Quidditch from him, because of the things that they were saying about the Weasleys. It's annoying me. I like, the next chapter, which is Careers Advice. This one, as I said earlier, plays on that relationship between Umbridge and McGonagall, both of which hate each other, and McGonagall is trying to be the bigger person here, but Umbridge is just, Umbridge is evil. And not only that, but it builds on that relationship between McGonagall and Harry, because there's a quote, I'm not going to be able to remember it off by heart, but there's a bit in here where she's like, I'm going to make sure Harry's an Auror if it's the last thing I do, because Umbridge is constantly saying, oh, Harry's never going to be an Auror, he's not good enough. Things like, she even says like, oh, he's got a criminal record, even though he's been, and then McGonagall's like, oh no, he's been cleared, and you were there, and you should know that. And so it's that kind of fight that it's great. It's a very like it's one of those moments when you're reading through it and you see it's not a major plot point, and it might have been one of those things could have been cut out of the book, but I found it very fun. I think it's in one of the earlier chapters, when Harry first gets told off by Umbridge. Umbridge sends him to McGonagall to get punished, and he goes in and he says, oh, shout at Umbridge, I told her that Lord Voldemort's still alive. And McGonagall's like, have a biscuit. And she's like, you shouldn't be getting in trouble, but I understand, because she's horrible. Like I said, it just builds on that character relationship between McGonagall and Harry, which was never properly like explored in the other books. That's one of the reasons I like this book. If we switch it over to Owls, which is their exams, once again, as you can see in the other books, for example, the last review for the fourth one, you had the Triwizard Tournament, which would kind of show Harry's capability as a character, and the Owls are another way of proving this, because and here's you kind of understand that he's going to be doing well in some subjects, especially like obviously potions he struggles in, history of magic he struggles in because he doesn't pay attention there, and then in other ones like divination he doesn't do so well, but especially defense against the dark arts, which is a great one because when he first like finished it, he's like, oh, he felt that went quite well, and even one of the examinators heard that he could do a full Patronus, which he then performs, and I think he mentions that Umbridge was present and was like really like just completely annoyed with him, but because he was like actually really good at the subject, even though she'd been like purposely not teaching them, which I just thought was just great. I love the chapters that involve Umbridge, either not so much the ones that show her like doing something bad, because obviously you kind of want to hate her, and you can see that that's a well written thing. But I like it when Harry's kind of triumphs over her. So if we talk about one of the final chapters, which was the Department of Mysteries. This one, yeah, I have got an issue with, because if we start with the positives of this chapter, it comes into kind of fruition the kind of teachings that Harry's been doing with the DA, Dumbledore's army, and characters such as Neville and Luna managed to put up a fight against these Death Eaters for quite some time, and this is due to obviously due to being part of the DA, and that they came with them to help. And although the DA was to pass their exams, it's also to kind of defend themselves from Voldemort being back, and this very thing was what it was based around. It also brings those two characters, especially also brings Ginny into kind of the forefront of the narrative by giving them more of a significant role than just being side characters that we don't really speak to, but they're there for short moments. Especially seeing as it's not just the trio, but there are other characters in there as well that are quite important, especially because Neville in this book is great, especially with the kind of reveal about his parents. Obviously that was revealed in previous ones, but people actually learn about it in this one, and he then Neville fights Bellatrix, and like her like teasing of him, it's just great, and those characters become more like braver and kind of more into themselves, which is great. The problem with this chapter, I find, is that the tension that's built is lost quite a lot. Spoiler alert, the end of the chapter is the Order of the Phoenix. They all come, and Sirius ends up getting killed by Bellatrix. And when you see that as the end of the chapter, it's kind of hard to look back at the chapter without feeling a little bit annoyed, because you had moments such as Ron getting, I can't remember if it was a spell got put on him, but he came like overly like kind of soppy and like kind of delirious, and then he ends up trying to like grab a brain out of a tank for the sake of it, and he then gets like attached to it, and he it's like starts suffocating, which is just like a weird thing. The behavior of Ron within that scene, I guess as it's a kid's book, it's got to appeal more. But it's weird that J.K. Rowling could do the fourth book, the ending of that, where Harry was in danger, and that was done really well, and the tension was not lost throughout that. Whereas in here, she includes scenes like that. There's also another one where I think it's a Death Eater stumbles over into a tank of what seems like wind, and then when he comes out, he's got like a baby head, because it's the wind was supposed to be time, and it had like reversed. But I just felt with a Death Eater with a baby head acting like and like cooing was just very weird in terms of this whole kind of fight, and like a fight for their lives. So that's one of those things that kind of annoyed me a little bit with that end chapter. There is the chapters at the end where Dumbledore tells Harry about the prophecy, and I feel like I've covered that enough now, that those scenes where it is that one-on-one with Dumbledore and Harry, they kind of treat each other with that kind of mutual respect that is not really gained from some of the characters. Other than that, the kind of final points I'm going to make are that this one was a great book. People normally talk about the kind of I don't know a better word for it, but the angst throughout this book, where Harry kind of gets angry at his not only his friends but some other people as well. For example, in the final scene with Dumbledore, Harry gets really angry with him and starts smashing stuff in his office. And if you take them as like isolated things, it seems very weird for him to be getting this angry. But you need to look back at it as the fact that the previous book, Harry, obviously he didn't win. He lost to Voldemort, but managed to escape. But he just witnessed someone die, in which he was part of the reason why they died, because he, instead of taking the cup himself, he told them to come with him, take it together, and he brought Cedric to his death. Yeah, brought Cedric to his death, which I'm not saying he's responsible, but he's gonna feel that way. And he gets angry then. I know there's a couple other times I can't remember, but the scene with Dumbledore at the end, just after Sirius has died. So I feel this is like a great example of like the way like trauma and this PTSD is like develops within Harry, and that those anger moments are mostly like after tragic events. And I'm not justifying like his attacking against like Harry, Hermione and Ron, but if you look at it, it is more realistic than what people kind of make out. That, and like people discredit this book because of those kind of things. They say like Harry's like angry and having to go at everyone. It seems like very unnatural of him, which is, if you look at it, it's actually not. Okay, so I'm gonna give this book a score of 80. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to check out the other videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.